Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Aubrey Urbanowicz. I do want to give you an update to our weather this afternoon. We do currently have a severe thunderstorm warning for part of our area, the eastern part of the area, but this is also coming off a tornado warning from Crozet. So if you follow us on social media, we did put a post up maybe about 20 minutes ago saying, hey, we were monitoring this storm in case the rotation holds together, in case that tornado warning continues over the Blue Ridge. If you are between Grottoes and Elkton, you're kind of on standby. So I want to show you what we have right now. The tornado warning has expired. So I want to show you the severe thunderstorm warning. This includes the Blue Ridge Mountains, but it's also going to include the Grottoes area, not to Elkton, basically to about maybe the Beldor area on Route 340. So if you notice those really high, bright colors, that's the really heavy rainfall rates coming over the Blue Ridge, but we also have a really strong surge of wind. We've already seen some trees down even between Grottoes and the Cremora area. Thank you for all of your reports. But if you are between Grottoes along Route 340, if you are east of Route 340 from Grottoes to the Blue Ridge Mountains, then I want you to take shelter, because even though this is technically coming out as a severe thunderstorm warning, a tornado is possible, and we certainly have some very strong winds within this storm. So I want you to get to either the lowest level of your home. It could be, if you don't have a basement, that's okay. A hallway, a closet, an interior bathroom, a room without windows. That's going to be your best bet. On your way, I want you to do this quickly. On your way, if you've got flip-flops on, grab a pair of sneakers, grab a pair of boots, because if something were to happen, you don't want to be crawling or walking over insulation, any nails or boards or anything like that. So I always say, when you go to your safe place, grab a sturdy pair of shoes just in case. I'd rather you be over-prepared than under-prepared. If you think you're going to go outside and try to see this, do not. It is I call it murky outside. Basically, we have so much moisture. This is all tropical moisture in the atmosphere. You are not going to see anything. All right, so this is the area. I'm going to take down the warning just so I can really show you the region that we're looking at. So I'm going to take the warning off for a second, and then we are looking at Grottoes. If you can see right along Route 340, this also includes a few areas west of Grottoes. You're seeing that very heavy rain. The strongest winds are coming over the Blue Ridge Mountains right now. So I'm going to zoom in here. So this includes the town of Grottoes. If you are in Grottoes, you are included in this, and this means the rain is about to get extremely heavy. We could certainly see some areas of flooding, but also the strong wind. So that's why I want you to get into a space away from windows, into some sort of a sturdy shelter. All right, so this is going to continue across Route 340, but I'm going to move eastward a bit. You can see if you're toward the Blue Ridge, close to Morning Star Circle, close to Browns Gap Road, Stull Run Trail, this is the area that's included in this, and the winds are going to pick up. Orbank Road, this also includes this includes part of Port Republic Road into Grottoes and toward the Blue Ridge if you're continuing on Port Republic Road. All right, so this also includes, Deep Run Trail, Rains Bank Lane. And we're going to go up to Linwood Road. Morris Hill Lane, you're not included in this. You're okay right now, but I would kind of be on standby because this storm is actually pretty strong coming over. So if you're right along and off of Route 340 from Grottoes northward to around the Island Ford area, then you would be included in this warning. So Lewis Run Trail, you're also included in this. So I'm going to zoom out a bit because we have some very strong winds coming in. I do want to take a minute because we do have some flooding that's been ongoing into the Augusta County area. So if we put the radar into motion, you can see that location that's really picked up the most rain is into Augusta County. So we do have some flooded roads. Maybe not the entire road is flooded over, but at least flooding in some of those low-lying spots. I'm going to I'm going to hold the radar, letting it loop. You can see how we're starting to see at least more scattered activity, but that storm coming over the Blue Ridge is very dominant right there, right on radar. So that is our strong storm. We had that tornado threat. It was low. Can't rule it out. I do want to pop on our camera from SHD, and I'm going to move it to the side so you can kind of see. And I'm going to move this around actually, but you get an idea of how low the visibility is. So that's why, if you are in the area of the tornado warning, I don't want you to go outside. I don't want you to try to take a photo. I don't want you to try to take a video. I don't want you to try to see rotation. I want you to get into your safe space, because in a situation like this, when we have this much moisture, you're not going to see anything anyways. And if we were to have a circulation, sometimes it can happen so fast, it'll happen before you know it, and then it's gone. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, as far as, all right, I'm going to remove that. You can see where we do still have some pockets of heavy rain. As far as rainfall numbers, I want to show you the significance here with some of our rainfall numbers in Augusta County. Waynesboro, when I looked not too long ago, you had about just under 2 inches. Stanton, you're approaching 1.7, 2 inches, some areas 2.5 inches. This is where we expected the most rain. That's the area where we concerned about the flooding, mainly into Augusta County and, of course, on the eastern side of Shenandoah Mountain, as well as right along the Blue Ridge. Shenandoah, you know you always get that heavy rain. You're just at the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and some areas are even, you know, basically in the mountains. That's where we're seeing some of the heavier pockets of rain of 3+ inches right now. And so Waynesboro, let's see if I can pop up Waynesboro, right at 2 inches right now. So this is where we've got creeks overflowing their banks. Use extreme caution here, because we have a lot of standing water. We have a lot of flowing water in these areas. And 911 basically in Augusta County is getting overwhelmed with a lot of calls. There's a lot of calls. We also have a lot of trees down, and that's also led to some power outages. It's certainly not widespread, most of those being into Augusta County. So if you take a look at radar, right now, you can kind of see where we have some breaks in the rain. We've had things letting up. We're kind of toward the end of this. I really only expect this to go maybe another 1 to 2 hours before we really start to see things tapering off. But this is our strong storm right now. Do we have any information from NWS just yet? How's MRMS looking? Is it showing anything? So, and I'm just talking to meteorologist Grant Coleman. Just, you're kind of, letting you in on the process here. We're just, we're doing it live. All right. So right now across the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I know this probably does not make a lot of sense to you, but I'm going to show you what we're looking at. So this area right here where I'm circling, right across the Blue Ridge Mountains, where you see the reds and then part of that green coming together, that's a sign of very high winds at the surface. And then, all right, so we've got 60 miles an hour and we've got okay, so it's weak there. But this is a sign of very strong winds just above the surface. If you were out today and you looked up at the clouds and you saw them racing by, that's the very strong winds just above the ground. So where we have this red and green coming together, that's part of a sign of rotation. It's not always, sometimes it can be straight line winds, but when the red and green starts to come together, that can be a sign of rotation, and it's also a sign of this very strong wind. So even if we don't have a tornado per se, we could certainly have some very strong winds that's capable of taking down trees. And a tree down, whether it's from a tornado with 70-mile-an-hour winds or straight line winds from a thunderstorm with 70-mile-an-hour winds, a downed tree on a home is still a downed tree. All right, so I want you to treat this as a tornado warning, because we do have some very strong winds that are basically coming over the Blue Ridge Mountains right now. So again, those areas, I'm going to go over the warning with you again. You can kind of see where the warning is. This is north of Cremora and Dooms. This is really basically right around the Grottoes area, from Grottoes along Route 340 to about the Island Ford area. You can see that's south of Elkton, right close to, kind of closer to the Beldor area, maybe just south of Beldor. That's the area we're talking. So along Route 340, but also east of Route 340. If you're between 340 and the Blue Ridge in this area, this is where we're not only seeing torrential rain, but that can also lead to flooding, because this is where we've had some of these really hefty rainfall rates, but also the strong winds coming over. So again, that's kind of a look at the warning right now. We currently do not have any flood warnings in place. However, we know there's some flooding going on. It might not be the fastest rising, rushing floodwaters, but we do know there's some standing water in many areas, especially into Augusta County. And we could still see some additional flooding coming in. Keep in mind, a lot of the creeks are starting to rise. Our rivers are going to rise in response to that, not quite as quickly as the creeks, but the creeks, I mean, you notice how quickly they came up on Thursday night because of the rain we had, or excuse me, on Thursday day because of the rain we had Wednesday night. We could still see a lot of those creeks coming up. So even outside of this tornado warning, I would not put your guard down, because we still have some of that very heavy rain. I'm going to switch to radar right now and kind of show you that loop. So here's some of that heavy rain really coming in. I'm just going to go back Excuse me for going back. All right, so around just before noon is when we had that really heavy band starting to come through. Watch how that really came through, and some of that did start to fizzle. So as I mentioned the last couple of days, you know, at this point, we're starting to at least get some drier air in the mid-level. So it's at least trying to make this band not quite as intense. It's not fizzling everything out, but it can be making it not quite as intense. We still have some downpours in there, but watch the rain. Here's 1 o'clock. Notice where the heaviest rain is, basically along or just west of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Elsewhere, it's just not quite as widespread. That heavy rain continues, and there's that next band coming in, and that started to fizzle, especially along and west of I-81. We still have a few more bands coming in, but we've got torrential rain on the eastern side of the Blue Ridge. And if I can pull a rainfall, I can't see with radar, so I'm going to turn radar off if I can do it really quick. And I can't see. Okay, I see a 4-inch on the eastern side of the Blue Ridge. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much rain we've seen on the eastern side of the Blue Ridge. I see about 3 to 4 inches. All right, so that's where that torrential rain is, but we still have some heavy pockets coming into Augusta County. Right now, some of the heaviest rain, of course, right around the Waynesboro area, where we don't need additional rain right now. That's moving. Right now, it's going to be just east of Stewart's Draft. Fishersville, this is moving toward your region. Let's see if it has more of a northerly component to it. Stewart's Draft, I think that one's going to miss you. You've got a smaller one coming in. Of course, I know you don't need any more rain right now, but we do have some heavier rain coming in. Grant, would you mind checking that cell that's coming over Afton Mountain, just making sure that that one's not showing any sign of rotation there. And okay, so what you're noticing here is this is picking up on some rotation. So that's kind of a sign. This is why we're on the air. This is why we're breaking into programming, because this is important. This can create some damage. So again, the tornado warrant, well, excuse me, this is actually a severe, is it still a severe thunderstorm? Okay, so I have it red because it basically the National Weather Service says, hey, this is a severe thunderstorm warning, but we think there could be some rotation in here, and a tornado is kind of possible with this one. So that's why it's technically going to come in on your phone as a severe thunderstorm warning. But if you read the text all the way through at the bottom, it says remain alert for a possible tornado. So that's why, 1, it's red on my computer, and also 2, we're cutting into program because we do think that there could be a tornado possibly embedded with this. If not, it's still going to contain some very strong wind. And if you notice our little it's called a meso, basically, indicator right here. See how it's spinning? That's saying, hey, there's some weak rotation in here. So it's something that we certainly want to keep an eye on, and that's why we're on the air right now. So this is starting to come in. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of taking a look for myself and seeing, okay. All right, let's talk about a big myth. You ever hear the myth tornadoes don't happen in the mountains, or the mountains break apart all the tornadoes? Guess what? Not always the case. In fact, well south of our area in the Roanoke region over the Blue Ridge, let's see, about 2 years ago, there was a tornado that climbed a mountain. It actually climbed the mountain about 1,900 feet tall and went up and over the mountain. So we do have some instances. This is actually a pretty strong storm. So what happens is sometimes that rotation can weaken as a rotating storm goes up terrain, but then the opposite happens as it comes down. And that's going to be the concern here. As that rotation starts to come down the mountain, even though it could weaken at the top, it can accelerate and it can tighten up as it comes down terrain. That's what we know about tornadoes and mountains. So the mountains can at least release some of that rotation as it goes up, but as it comes down, which this storm is doing, that's where we can see that rotation accelerate again. And that's why I would be concerned with this area. All right, so Grottoes, let's see, the town of Grottoes, you're still in this. However, we still have some very strong winds coming in. The heaviest of the rain is not always associated with the rotation, so keep that in mind. But the heaviest of the rain is just north of Grottoes, and this is coming right over Browns Gap, Orbank Road, Patterson Ridge Lane. These are areas, not only are you seeing torrential rain, but we've got some strong winds, and you are in this kind of severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible. So I would get into your safe space certainly right now. Rainsbank Road, Battery Heights Lane, I mentioned Orbank Road, let's see, Treeland Lane, and I can't see with the, I need to darken my font. I'm sorry?
They just expired it?
They did expire. Okay. So it is 4:13. Okay, so what they're doing is they are expiring this, so they do think that the rotation has weakened enough. And if you notice, if I turn the little, if you notice that little circulation up a few moments ago, it's not showing anymore. So that is good news. Again, it can weaken as it comes up. We do want to monitor this very closely and make sure we don't continue to see rotation here. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of radar, and then we're going to return you to your regular programming. We're still going to follow up on this on social media. We're not going anywhere. We're still going to monitor everything. So basically, I'm going to put the radar on for right now. So we do still have some heavy rain coming into Augusta County along and east of Route 340 over the Blue Ridge Mountains. We still have some steady rain north of Route 33, much more scattered right now. And if I can show you more of a zoomed out view. All right, you can see, I'm going to position this radar. So if you remember the last 2 days, we talked about the drier air coming in this afternoon. It's going to help to shut down some of that moisture. I'm not saying we're going to be dry right now, but it's going to help to shut down a lot of that moisture over the next couple of hours. You can see how things are turning much more scattered over the last just couple of hours. We're going to watch those bands coming out of Roanoke. Those are likely going to move more to the northwest, so I don't think we'll have too much of an issue from those bands here. I will continue to monitor that, but we will still have some showers into Rockbridge County. But again, at this point, we still, even though we technically don't have any flood warnings in place, we know there is a lot of standing water in Augusta County. We know there is some flooding in some areas, so be aware of that. We're going to continue to keep you updated on social media, and we will be back at 5 o'clock for the WHSV News at 5. Stay safe, and now I'm going to return you to your regular programming.